wanted to know it was me.
Everyone remembers what Olenna said. Tell Cersei, I want her to know it was me. That's the line. That's the moment people quote, the moment they gif, the moment they point to when they say Olenna Tyrell was the greatest player in the game. And they're right, but they're right for the wrong reason. Most people watch that scene and see a confession, a dying woman getting the last word, a mic drop before the poison takes her. And that reading is fine, it's satisfying, but it is completely surface level. Because Olenna didn't confess in that room. She detonated, and she built the device with 6 separate charges, each aimed at a different target, each designed to go off at a different time. Jaime was standing right in front of her, and he didn't hear a single one of them until it was too late. But we did. If you watch his face during that scene, you can see the exact moment each one lands. Let me take you through them, one at a time. The first threat is aimed directly at Cersei's mind. Not her power, not her army, her mind. And Olenna designs it with 4 words, and a delivery system Cersei cannot refuse. Her own brother. Olenna doesn't send a raven, she doesn't write a letter. She tells Jaime to carry the message personally. Tell Cersei. That is not a request, that is an assignment. And the humiliation of it is staggering when you think about what Jaime just did. This man rode at the head of an army. He just took Highgarden, the seat of the second wealthiest house in Westeros, without breaking a sweat. He walked into that room as a conqueror, as a general, as the man who ended the Tyrell line. And within 60 seconds, a woman sitting in a chair with poison in her blood has reduced him to an errand boy. She has taken the general who just sacked her castle and given him a job. Go home, find your sister. Repeat what I said, word for word. The man who conquered Highgarden just got demoted to a courier, before his tea was even cold, and there is nothing he can do about it, because the woman giving the orders is already dying, but the humiliation is only the wrapping. The real damage is what's inside the message, and we'll get to that. Because Olenna didn't just demote Jaime, she turned him into a fuse attached to a psychological weapon, one that detonates the moment he opens his mouth in front of Cersei. That is not a confession, that is an assignment designed to destroy the person who receives the report. The second threat is the one Jaime feels in real time, and you can actually watch it happen on his face, if you know what to look for. Most viewers miss it, because it sounds like sympathy.
Must have been horrible for you, as a king's guard, as a father. It was horrible enough for me.
Olenna says, it must have been horrible for you, as a Kingsguard, as a father. That sounds like compassion. It is not. Break those 2 phrases apart. As a Kingsguard, Jaime's sworn duty was to protect the king. Joffrey died at his own wedding feast, in a room full of witnesses, while Jaime was right there. He failed. As a father, and here, Olenna quietly acknowledges the incest. She knows. She's always known. Everyone at that level of the game knew. So she's not offering comfort. She's reading Jaime his own charges. You failed your oath. You failed your son. You watched the wrong brother take the blame, and you did nothing decisive enough to stop it. Watch Nikolai Coster-Waldau in this moment. At the start of the scene, his posture is upright, controlled, almost gentle. He's the man in charge. He's granting mercy. He's being magnanimous. By the time Olenna finishes speaking, something behind his eyes has collapsed. His jaw sets. His breathing changes. He doesn't move. He doesn't respond. He just stands there while a dead woman walks out of the room inside his head. That is the exact moment Jaime stops being the executioner and becomes the spectator. He entered the room holding the power. He leaves it holding a message he never agreed to carry, and a truth he can never unknow. The third threat is the one that does the most structural damage, and it doesn't fully detonate for seasons. The moment Olenna confesses, Jaime's brain has to do something it's been avoiding for years. It has to recalculate Tyrion. If Olenna killed Joffrey, then Tyrion didn't, which means the trial was a sham, which means Oberyn died for nothing, which means Tywin condemned an innocent man, which means Tyrion killing Tywin wasn't the act of a guilty son lashing out. It was the act of an innocent man who had been betrayed by every person who shared his blood. And now think about what that means for Cersei. For years, she believed Tyrion poisoned Joffrey. She built an entire vendetta around it. She put her own brother on trial. She watched Oberyn Martell's skull get crushed trying to prove Tyrion's innocence. She lost her father, because Tyrion escaped and shot him on the privy. Every consequence that followed Joffrey's death, Cersei traced back to Tyrion. And the real killer was attending their dinner parties for years, sitting across from her at small council meetings, complimenting her gowns, smiling through every conversation, and Cersei never once suspected her. Cersei's hatred of Tyrion is load-bearing. It holds up her entire identity. It justified the trial. It justified the manhunt. It justified years of political decisions built on the certainty that her little brother murdered her son. If Tyrion is innocent, then Cersei didn't just grieve wrong. She tortured wrong. She killed wrong. She waged wars over the wrong enemy. Her entire history of vengeance was a performance, staged in front of the real killer. And the real killer watched every act of it, with a glass of wine and a polite smile. Now Jaime has to choose. If he tells Cersei the truth, he destroys the one belief holding her together. If he doesn't tell her, he lives inside the lie with her and becomes part of it. Olenna just built a trap with no exit and locked Jaime inside it while dying. That is not a confession. That is architecture. The fourth threat operates on the longest political timeline, and it works like a slow poison, which is fitting considering who designed it. Before this scene, Jaime still believes in the Lannister project. He has doubts. He flinches at Cersei's cruelty from time to time, but fundamentally, he is still riding under the Lion banner, still following orders, still showing up. After this scene, something fractures, because Olenna's confession forces Jaime to confront a very specific and very dangerous realization. Cersei's judgment is catastrophically unreliable. She was wrong about who killed her son. Not for a week, not for a month, for years. And Jaime followed her through every decision that flowed from that mistake, without question. If she was wrong about the most important event in her life, the murder of her firstborn child, what else is she wrong about? That question does not leave Jaime's head. You can watch it work on him across Season 7 and into Season 8.
The Targaryens and the Starks already want to kill us all. Most of them will die in the
I faced them in the field.
Every time Cersei makes a decision that feels reckless or vicious, Jaime's face does something it never did before this room. It doubts. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a flicker behind the eyes, a half-second pause before he agrees. By the time he rides north to fight the dead, against Cersei's explicit orders, the fracture has become a clean break. Olenna didn't just kill Joffrey, she killed Jaime's ability to trust Cersei's mind. And she did it with a single confession that proved Cersei had been wrong about everything, for longer than either of them wanted to admit. The fifth threat is about timing, and it is the most elegant piece of the entire scene.
How will it happen? Will there be pain?
No, I made sure of that.
That's good. I'd hate to die like your son.
She waits. She drinks the poison first. Then she confesses. That sequence is everything. If she confesses before drinking, Jaime can rescind the offer of mercy. He can call for Qyburn. He can have her tortured for information about Daenerys' plans, Highgarden's remaining assets, anything useful. Olenna is the matriarch of the second wealthiest house in Westeros, and a direct advisor to Daenerys Targaryen. She is an intelligence goldmine. But she drinks first, and once that poison is in her blood, she is beyond reach. Jaime cannot hurt her. He cannot threaten her. He cannot take anything back. And this is where the scene's cruelest irony hits. She is dying painlessly, because Jaime chose to be kind. His mercy is now the shield she is using to deliver the kill shot. He gave her a gentle death, and she is using that gentleness as armor, while she tears his world apart. The man who came to execute her is now standing in a room, watching an old woman die on her own schedule, at her own pace, completely untouchable, while she tells him things that will haunt him for the rest of his life. She chose the terms. She chose the timing. She chose the exit. Jaime chose nothing. He is a spectator at his own conquest. This sixth threat is the one almost everyone glosses over, and it might be the most psychologically devastating of all, because it takes away the one thing Jaime needs most after hearing everything else, the ability to hate her. Olenna says,
A shocking scene. Not at all what I intended. You see, I'd never seen the poison work before.
Stop on that. A woman who just confessed to regicide. A woman who has been ruthless for decades. A woman who outmaneuvered Tywin Lannister and played the long game better than almost anyone in Westeros. And she is telling Jaime that she was disturbed by how Joffrey died. She didn't know the Strangler would make him claw at his own throat. She didn't know his face would go purple and his eyes would fill with blood. She didn't know it would look like that. And now contrast the two deaths sitting inside this scene. Joffrey, a boy king, choking, clawing, purple-faced, foam spilling from his mouth, dying in his mother's arms, in front of hundreds of guests at his own wedding. Olenna, sitting calmly in her own chamber, sipping wine laced with a painless poison, granted a gentle exit by the brother of the woman she destroyed. The woman who killed Joffrey in agony is now dying in peace, and the man who gave her that peace is the father of the boy she killed. Olenna stole a merciful death from the family of the child she murdered violently, and she used Jaime's own kindness to do it. That is the heist inside the heist, and Jaime is standing right there watching it happen, and he cannot stop it because he is the one who made it possible. But what makes this line so dangerous isn't the irony, it's the honesty. She's not apologizing, but she is being genuine. She is telling Jaime that the violence of her own weapon shocked her, that she didn't enjoy what happened to Joffrey's body, that she is a grandmother who murdered a king to protect her granddaughter from a monster, and she was horrified by the method, even if she would never take back the act. That is a morally complex position, and Jaime is smart enough to understand it, which means he cannot file Olenna away as simple evil. He cannot reduce her to a villain, because she just showed him she has limits, and those limits look uncomfortably like his own. Try hating that. Try carrying that back to Cersei. Try explaining to the mother of the dead king that his killer was a reasonable woman with understandable motives who felt bad about the mess. That message is undeliverable, and Olenna knows it. So here is the full picture of what happened at Highgarden. Jaime Lannister arrived with an army at his back, a castle conquered, a fortune seized, and a cup of mercy in his hand. He held every card. He controlled every variable. He was the conqueror, granting a gentle death to a defeated enemy. And in under 2 minutes, a woman with no army, no weapons, no escape, and poison already in her veins, took his conquest and turned it into a crime scene. She took his army and made it irrelevant. She took his mercy and wore it as armor. She took his loyalty to Cersei and planted a fracture in it that would split clean open 2 seasons later. She took his certainty about Tyrion and replaced it with guilt he could never resolve. She took his role as executioner and made him a messenger. And she took his ability to hate her, the one thing that might have let him walk out of that room intact, and removed it with a single honest sentence about a death she didn't mean to make so ugly. Jaime came to Highgarden to end the Tyrell line. Olenna let him. And on her way out, she reached into the foundation of everything the Lannisters believed about themselves, and pulled out the one brick that held it all together. That is not a death scene. That is a robbery. And the target was never Highgarden's gold. It was 20 years of Lannister lies, and she took every last one of them with her.